The sky above planet Virel was always dark purple, filled with floating stones and distant stars. But today, the sky felt heavier to Princess Irina. She stood at the edge of the royal landing pad, wearing her silver cloak and crown-shaped headpiece. Her heart was beating fast. Irina was not like other royals. While most leaders of Virel believed in control, power, and silence, Irina believed in peace. She had often spoken against her people's wars, their cruelty toward weaker planets, and the cold way they ruled. Because of this, the High Council called her dangerous. They smiled in public, but in secret, they feared her voice. Today she was going on a diplomatic mission, that's what they told her. But deep inside, she felt something was wrong. The guards walking beside her didn't speak. They didn't even look her in the eye. Even her closest advisor had been silent this morning. Her ship, Skywing, was ready. It stood tall and shining, its surface smooth like liquid metal. As Irina walked up the ramp, she glanced back at her home. Something inside her whispered, "This might be the last time you see it." Inside the ship, Irina took her seat. The guards took theirs. The ship lifted off the ground with a soft hum. They flew into the deep purple clouds. After some time in space, the stars around them became clearer. The silence inside the ship grew heavy. Suddenly, Irina heard a loud beep on her panel. A message appeared. Autopilot disabled. Emergency code 5 triggered. Before she could react, one of the guards stood up. He was holding a small silver blaster. "Why is your weapon out?" Irina asked calmly, though her voice shook slightly. The guard didn't answer. Another guard moved toward her. She stood up, ready to defend herself. But it was too late. A strong hit from behind knocked her down. Pain rushed through her side. She looked down and saw a deep burn near her ribs. Her vision became blurry, the last thing she heard before blacking. Out was one of the guards saying, "Leave her on the moon. Let nature finish the job." Irina woke up on cold gray soil. Her body was shaking. The stars above her were unfamiliar. She was on a small moon. No trees, no buildings, just open land and strange blue rocks. Her hands were scraped, and her sides still burned. Blood, thick and greenish-blue, dripped slowly from her wound. She tried to stand, but her legs were weak. Every breath was painful. Still, she pushed forward, crawling toward a small rock for cover. She wanted to cry, but her pride held her back. "I'm a warrior," she whispered. "They will not break me." But deep down she knew the truth. She had been betrayed, left to die by her own people, by the ones she had tried to protect. Hours passed, maybe more. Irina wasn't sure anymore. Her body was losing strength. Her vision blurred again. The cold wind of the moon made her shiver. She looked up at the stars one last time, ready to give in. But just before her eyes closed, she saw something, a small light in the sky. It moved fast, not a star, not a Virel ship. Something else. A craft was landing nearby. She tried to move, tried to hide, but couldn't. Her body didn't respond. The ship landed softly. Its door opened, and a figure stepped out. It was not Virel. It was human. The man looked around holding a scanner in one hand and a small flashlight in the other. His eyes stopped when he saw Irina. He ran toward her. "Hey, you alive?" he shouted. His voice was strong, full of worry. Irina couldn't understand his words, but his tone was different, kind, surprised, not angry. The man knelt beside her and opened a small case. He pulled out some strange tools and gently touched her shoulder. "I'm not going to hurt you," he said, slower this time, trying to calm her. Irina blinked, her lips moving without sound. She wanted to ask, "Why are you helping me?" But no. Words came out. The human placed a soft cloth on her wound, then sprayed something that felt cold but soothing. He lifted her gently, cradling her like she was something precious. His name was Rahim, and Irina, though she didn't know it yet, had just been saved by the very kind of being her people had once called primitive. Rahim carried Irina into his small outpost, a silver dome built into the rocky side of the moon. Inside, there were machines, wires, screens, and warm lights. It smelled of metal and coffee. He placed her on a soft seat and began to treat her more carefully. using translation software to try and understand her language. Hours passed. Rahim kept working, feeding her small drops of water, checking her temperature, and making sure she was stable. Arina finally opened her eyes fully. "You saved me," she whispered, weakly but clearly. Rahim smiled. "Yeah, lucky I was out here." She looked at him closely. His face was kind, eyes gentle, not like the hard eyes of her guards. She had never met a human before, yet this stranger had given her more care in one day than her own people had in years. Arina closed her eyes again, but this time with hope. She was not alone. End of part 1. Inside the silver outpost on the quiet moon, the soft sound of machines echoed through the small space. The air was warm and smelled slightly like oil and metal. Rahim moved carefully around the main room, checking his tools and watching the strange alien woman resting on his cot. She was no longer shaking. Her breathing had become more steady, and the strange greenish-blue color of her blood had stopped spreading from the wound. He didn't know what species she was, but he had done his best. Rahim had always believed in helping others, no matter what they looked like. That belief had brought him out here far from Earth to search for minerals and old tech. He wasn't a soldier or a scientist, just a simple engineer with a kind heart and a strong will. The alien stirred. Rahim quickly walked over and knelt beside her. Her eyes opened slowly. They were bright silver, glowing just a little in the dim light. "Hey," he said gently. "You're safe." Confused, her lips moved, speaking words Rahim couldn't understand. The language was sharp and smooth like a song made of whispers. "It's okay," Rahim said, raising his hands to show peace. "I don't understand your words, but I'm a friend." He touched a small device on his wrist. The translation program lit up and began recording. "Can you speak again?" he asked, pointing to it. The alien woman stared at him, then nodded. Weakly, she spoke again, slowly. The translator beeped and processed on the screen appeared a message where Rahim smiled. "You're on Moon X92. I found you near the ridge, bleeding." The alien read the translation with tired eyes. She whispered again. The new message said, "Why? Did you help me?" Rahim looked at her gently. "Because you needed help. That's enough." The woman stared at him for a long time. In her world, kindness was rare. People helped only for gain, for power, or for show. But this human, this Rahim, he had no reason to save her, yet he had. She lowered her head back onto the pillow. "Thank you," she said softly. Over the next 2 days, Arina, though she still hadn't told Rahim, her name began to heal. She could sit up now and drink the strange, warm liquid Rahim gave her. It tasted odd, but it gave her energy. Rahim had set up a small corner for her, with a clean blanket, a pillow, and even a little light. He had also repaired the heat unit to make the place more comfortable. Sometimes they tried to talk using the translator. It wasn't perfect, but it helped. Rahim asked simple things. "Are you in pain? Do you want water? Can I help?" "With anything?" She answered with short replies. "Better now. No pain. Thank you." One evening, as soft music played from Rahim's old radio, the alien woman finally spoke longer. "My name is Arina." Rahim paused. "Irina? That's a beautiful name." She looked at him curiously. "What is your name, Rahim?"
Right.
She repeated it slowly. "Rahim." Then there was silence. Rahim smiled and sipped his tea. "You're the first alien I've met." Arina looked around. "You live here alone?" Rahim nodded. "I came here for mining. I was supposed to stay 3 weeks, but the machines broke and my return ship won't come for another month." Arina's eyes widened slightly. "You survive? Alone?" Rahim laughed. "I like the quiet, and now I have company." She gave a small smile. It was the first time Rahim had seen her do that. Even with her alien features, light blue skin, silver eyes, and strange face marks, her smile was soft and kind as more days passed. Their bond grew stronger. Rahim showed her his machine stools that cut rocks, scanners for energy, and old Earth gadgets. Irina was curious. She had never seen such simple but clever technology. In return, she showed him a small, round device hidden in her belt. It could create light maps and even project a memory image. When she activated it, a picture of her home planet floated in. The air dot it was beautiful purple oceans, silver forests, and tall glass towers. "That's where you're from?" Rahim asked, amazed. She nodded. "Planet Virel." Rahim sat beside her. "Why were you on that ridge? What happened to you?" Irina looked away. Her face became serious. She touched her wound gently and stayed quiet. Rahim didn't ask again. He could tell it was painful for her. But deep inside, Irina knew she would need to tell him one day. The truth about who she was, and why her own people had left her to die. That night, Irina couldn't sleep. She stood near the small window. Looking at the stars, somewhere out there, her enemies were watching, maybe even searching for her. If they found her here, they might destroy everything, including Rahim. She felt a mix of fear and guilt. This human had saved her without knowing the danger she brought. "I don't want to bring him harm," she whispered. Rahim, who had woken up to get water, saw her standing there, couldn't sleep. She asked. She turned to him, nodding. He walked over and stood beside her. Together, they looked out into space. "You don't have to tell me everything," he said softly. "But I want you to know you're safe here." She looked at him, her eyes full of emotion. "Thank you, Rahim. You are different," he chuckled. Most people say that. They shared a quiet laugh. A small one. But in that moment, it meant a lot. For the first time in a long while, Irina didn't feel like a princess, or a prisoner, or a problem. She felt human. End of part 2. Days passed slowly, but peacefully, inside the silver outpost on the lonely moon.
Ow.
The stars above never moved, and the dusty ground outside remained quiet. Inside, life had found a strange balance between a human engineer and an alien princess. Though Irina still didn't speak much about her past, she had started smiling more. Her wound was healing fast now, thanks to both Rahim's care and her body's natural recovery. Rahim didn't ask her many questions, gave her space, but also shared his world through music, tools, stories from Earth, and even jokes. She didn't always understand the humor, but she laughed anyway, just to see him smile. One morning, Rahim was fixing a small solar panel outside the shelter. The weak sun from the nearby star barely gave power, so he cleaned it every 2 days. Irina stepped out slowly, covered in a long gray robe Rahim had made from spare fabric. "You shouldn't be walking much," Rahim said, smiling but concerned. "I need to stretch," she said. "And I wanted to see the sky." They both looked up at the vast black sky filled with stars. Far away, 2 planets hung low, one yellow and one green. Irina pointed toward the green one. "That is Virel," she said softly. Rahim looked. "Home?" She nodded. "Yes, but not really home now." Rahim didn't say anything. He just looked at her quietly. After a long pause, Irina spoke again. "My people, they don't like questions. They don't like voices that speak against power." I spoke. I asked, "Why do we rule with fear? Why do we invade smaller worlds?" They called me a problem. Rahim listened carefully, saying nothing. I thought, maybe I could change things from inside, but I was wrong. They set me on a fake mission. My guards people I trusted hurt me, left me to die. Her voice broke slightly at the end, but she held her head high. "I'm sorry," Rahim said softly. "No one should go through that." Irina turned to him. "Why are you kind to me, Rahim? I'm not from your world, not even from your kind." Rahim gave a small smile. "Because pain is pain. It doesn't matter where you come from. And kindness should also not have limits." Irina looked at him for a long moment. Then, slowly, she nodded. Something warm filled her chest. In her world, no one spoke like this. No one acted without hidden reason. Back inside, they sat at the small round table where Rahim usually repaired tools. Today he had turned it into a simple game board using stones and metal screws. He taught Irina how to play. The game was about placing pieces in rows, while trying to block your opponent. She learned fast, and within 2 rounds, she beat him. "You're not bad," Raheem said, laughing. "Or maybe you're not very good," Irina replied with a small grin. They laughed together, strange yet peaceful. For a while they forgot about stars, wars, betrayals, and broken worlds. That evening, Raheem cooked a simple meal from his food packs. It wasn't fancy, just soft bread and warm stew, but it was filling. Irina had grown used to human food, even if the taste was different. They sat near the heat lamp, listening to soft music from Raheem's recorder. The song had no words, just sounds like wind, waves, and strings. "It's from Earth?" Irina asked. "Yes, from a sea village." "I've never been there, but this music makes me feel like I have." Irina closed her eyes. "It's peaceful." Raheem looked at her. "Do you have music on Virel?" "Yes, but most of it is written by the royal house. It's full of pride and power. I liked the old songs, the quiet ones, but they were removed, erased." Raheem shook his head. "A place without true music is missing something." She looked at him again. "Your world, is it better?" Raheem thought for a moment. "Earth has problems. We've had wars, mistakes, and greed, but we're learning. We're trying to be better." Irina nodded slowly. "Maybe that's what makes humans different." The next morning, Raheem was working on the broken satellite device near the back of the shelter. It was old and rusty, but with some repairs. It could send a message across the system. Irina watched him silently. "You're trying to call for help?" she asked. "Not yet," he said. "Just fixing it. In case of emergency." She stepped closer. "Can I help?" He looked at her, surprised. "You know tech? I studied ship systems. I wasn't allowed to touch tools as a princess, but I watched and learned." Raheem handed her a small scanner. "All right, let's test your skills." They worked side by side, fixing wires, checking circuits, and connecting small chips. Raheem explained the names of each part, and Irina picked them up fast. Hours passed without them noticing. Time moved differently when they were together. Calmer, quieter, easier. By evening, the satellite light turned green. "It's working," Raheem said with joy. Irina smiled, but a small worry appeared on her face. "What is it?" Raheem asked. "If we send a signal, my people might find it too." Paused. "Then we don't send anything. Not until you're ready." Irina nodded. She felt safe again. Raheem didn't push, didn't rush her. He gave her space to choose. In her whole life, she had never been given that. That night, she stood again. At the window, Raheem joined her. They didn't speak, just looked at the stars. Irina broke the silence. "You saved me, Raheem. Not just my body, but also my heart." Raheem looked at her gently. "You're not alone anymore." She nodded slowly. "Maybe 2 different worlds can still find peace, even if it's just 2 people." He smiled. That's where peace always starts. End of part 3. The small outpost on the moon had become a quiet home for 2 very different beings. Raheem and Irina had built trust, shared meals, and worked side by side. But not all secrets had been told, and not all dangers were gone. One morning, Raheem was adjusting a broken data pad. He had found it during a mining run last week, buried under a pile of rocks. Its design was strange, shiny black, with symbols he didn't understand. It wasn't human tech. He brought it inside and placed it on the table. Near the translator device, "Maybe Irina knows what this is," he said to himself. When Irina entered the room, she stopped the moment her eyes saw the datapad. Her face froze. "You found this?" she asked, her voice sharp. Raheem nodded. "Yeah, it was near the place I found you." Irina walked slowly toward it. Her fingers hovered over the symbols. Then she tapped a few buttons. The screen came to life. A red message flashed across it in her language. The translator blinked and processed the words. Target, Princess Irina. Status, rebellious. Order, eliminate quietly. Raheem's eyes widened. Irina stepped back. Her hands were shaking. She had hoped this moment would never come. But now the truth was out. Raheem looked at her. "Princess, Arena took a deep breath. Yes, I am Princess Arena of Virel. Silence filled the room. She spoke again, her voice low. I didn't tell you because I didn't want you to treat me like royalty. Didn't want you to see me as a leader who failed her people. Raheem sat down, still watching her. You don't have to explain anything if you're not ready. But Arena knew it was time. I was born into power, but I never wanted it. I saw how our leaders crushed weaker worlds. I asked questions, raised my voice. They warned me. Then they silenced me. Raheem nodded slowly. So they betrayed you. They sent me on a fake mission, far from Virel. My guards were ordered to leave me here, to let me die quietly. Without war, without news. She looked at Raheem with heavy eyes. And now they know I'm still alive. Raheem stood and walked closer. You don't have to be afraid. I won't let anyone hurt you. Rena smiled sadly. You already saved me once. But now you're in danger too. Raheem pointed to the green light on the satellite. Then we prepare. If they come, we fight. Rena raised an eyebrow. You would fight them? For me, I don't care if you're a princess or a soldier. You're my friend. And friends protect each other. For a moment, neither spoke. But something deep grew stronger between them, a silent promise. That afternoon, they began checking the outpost for anything that could be used for defense. Raheem opened crates filled with tools, wires, batteries, and old mining drones. Irina studied the drones. These can be reprogrammed. Not made for battle, but we can use them for distraction. Raheem grinned. Well, you sound like an Earth engineer. They spent hours working rewiring drones, setting traps outside the shelter, and hiding a few emergency supplies in a secret spot underground. By night, they were tired but ready. Irina sat near the heater, looking thoughtful. Do you regret finding me? She asked. Raheem shook his head. No, you changed my life. It looked surprised. How? Raheem replied slowly. I came here to dig for rocks. But I found something more, rare hope, friendship, purpose. You remind me why people fight for peace. Irina smiled gently. And you remind me that kindness still exists in the galaxy. The next day, the moon was quiet, but a strange sound filled the air around noon. A soft hum, then a sharp screech. Raheem looked up. Ship engines, he whispered. They rushed outside. In the sky, a small black ship was landing not far from their shelter. Its wings were sharp, its body dark like shadows. That's a Virel scout ship, Irina said, her voice. Serious. Raheem grabbed his scanner. Just one life form inside. Maybe a soldier or a hunter. Irina narrowed her eyes. They're searching. If they find me, they'll report back. We can't let that happen, Raheem said. The scout ship landed near the ridge. Figure stepped out tall, dressed in black armor, holding a silver scanner. Its face was covered with a mask. Irina and Raheem stayed low behind a rock. They watched the figure walk slowly toward the shelter, scanning the ground. We need to distract him, Irina whispered. I'll go right. You trigger the drone from the other side. Raheem nodded. Be careful. Irina moved like a shadow. Despite her injury, she was quick and trained. She circled around the rocks while Raheem crawled to the hidden drone. The hunter came closer to the shelter. His scanner beeped, detecting energy inside. Just as he raised his weapon, Raheem hit the button. A drone buzzed loudly and flew straight toward the sky. Flashing lights and beeping, the hunter turned in surprise. He fired at the drone, missing. That's when Irina struck. She jumped from behind, hitting the back of his helmet with a metal rod. The hunter fell, rolling on the ground. He stood up quickly and aimed. But before he could fire, Raheem threw a smoke bomb, a small tool used for rock blasting. Smoke covered the area. Irina grabbed Raheem's arm. Run. They ran together into the shelter and locked the door. Did he see your face? Raheem asked. No, Irina said, breathing hard. He knows someone is here. He'll report. Raheem checked the radar. He's running back to his ship. Irina touched the wall. We have to stop the signal. If that ship sends a message, they'll send more. Raheem rushed to the panel. There's one way we overload the ship's power, but that means going out there. Irina didn't hesitate. Let's go. Together they ran toward the scout ship. The hunter was already inside, starting the engine. Raheem pointed to the side panel. I need 10 seconds to connect. I'll cover you, Rena said. She ran forward, drawing the hunter's fire. He shot once. Twice, missing both times, Raheem reached the panel and connected a power core from his tool belt. 5 seconds. He shouted. Irina ducked behind a rock and threw a flare grenade. It exploded with bright light. The ship shook. Raheem yelled, "Done." The ship sparked wildly, lights flashing red. The engine stopped. The hunter jumped out and ran into the hills. Raheem and Irina fell back, breathing hard. "We did it," Raheem said. Rena smiled. "Yes, but this was just the beginning." They looked at the stars. More enemies would come. But now, the truth was out, and they were ready. End of Part 4. The sky above the quiet moon was no longer peaceful. After the Virel scout ship exploded, the silence felt heavier. Something had changed. Irina could feel it in the air. Inside the outpost, Raheem checked the scanner. The hunter was gone, but the damage was done. He may not have sent a full message, Raheem said, but they'll know something happened. Someone will come to check. Rena stood near the table, her arms crossed. Her face was calm, but her eyes were sharp. "They will come with more ships," she said. "More weapons." "They don't take risks with rebels," Raheem nodded. "Then, we prepare." They began turning the small outpost into a hidden defense zone. Raheem gathered old mining tools, solar panels, and drone parts. He laid them out like puzzle pieces, thinking of ways to turn each into a trap or alarm system. Irina walked around the area with a small scanner, mapping the land. "We need to know every path, every rock, every corner," she said. "We know the land better than the enemy. We win the first battle before it begins." Raheem smiled. "I never trained for war, but I trust you." "And I trust you," Rena said softly. Together, they built a motion trap made from wires and pressure pads, a noise decoy using an old radio and speaker that could play false movement sounds, a signal blocker built from broken chips that could slow enemy communications. They didn't have guns or strong armor, but they had teamwork. They had courage. And most of all, they had a reason to fight. That night, they sat on a flat rock under the stars. The wind was cold, but the silence between them was warm. Raheem looked up. "Do you miss your world?" Rena paused. "Sometimes, but not the palace. I miss the quiet places, the gardens, the small lake, the old music halls where no one watched." Raheem smiled. "I'd like to see your lake someday." She looked at him. "I would like to see your earth. Do humans also have quiet lakes?" "Yes, and green trees and blue skies. Some people never leave because it already feels like home." Rena nodded. "Maybe one day, when this is over, we can both see each other's homes?" Raheem looked at her, his eyes soft. "I'd like that." The next day, the scanner beeped. Soft, slow signal. Raheem rushed to the screen. It's another ship. This time, it entered orbit just now. Irina stood behind him. "Then they are here." They checked the radar. The ship was circling slowly, scanning the surface. "Let's move to the lookout post," Raheem said. They ran to a small rocky hill where they had placed binocular lenses and a long-range camera. A large Virel ship appeared in the sky. Dark. Blue, shaped like a sharp arrow. It flew slowly, then landed not far from the last wrecked scout ship. 2 small crafts flew out from it, dropping a group of soldiers. Irina's face turned serious. "They've sent an elite search team. 10 soldiers. Maybe more?" Raheem asked. "Can we fight them?" "Not directly," she said. "But we can slow them, confuse them, and survive until help comes." Raheem paused. "Is there anyone who can help us?" Rena thought for a moment. "There's a hidden rebel group. They don't follow the royal house, but I lost contact. Long ago, we might still have a chance." Raheem pointed to the repaired satellite. "Now we need to send that message. Now." Back inside, Raheem powered up the satellite. Arena recorded a short message in her language. This is Princess Arena of Virel. I am alive. Betrayed but not broken. Stand against the royal order. If any rebel force hears this, I need help. Signal was sent. Now they had to wait and survive. That evening, the Virel soldiers reached the crash site of the first scout ship. They found no bodies, just melted metal and footprints. They followed the tracks, but each step they took led them deeper into Arena and Rahim's traps. A noise decoy led one soldier away, into a hole filled with loose rocks. Another soldier touched a sensor that triggered smoke and flashing lights. Confused, he shouted warnings. The team paused. This place is not empty, one soldier said. Someone is hiding here. They moved slowly now, more carefully. At the outpost, Rahim checked the motion sensors. They're getting close, he said. Arena stood near the door, holding a strong metal rod. Let them come. We're ready. They waited quietly then. The first alarm beeped. Someone was near the outer wall. Rahim grabbed a small box and pressed a button. Outside, one of the drones they had modified flew upward, dropping tiny sparks into the air. It made noise and flashes, creating panic among the soldiers. Shots were fired into the sky, but nothing hit. Another trap went off a loud siren that played across the rocks. Echoing from every direction, the soldiers shouted, confused. They can't see us, Arena said. They don't know how many we are. Rahim added. They'll think we're a bigger group. A soldier kicked down the outer panel of the shelter. The second they stepped in, Rahim pulled a wire. Snap. Da. A blast of light filled the doorway, pushing the soldier back. Arena charged forward and struck him with her metal rod. He fell, unconscious. Rahim dragged the soldier's body into the corner and locked the door. They'll be careful now, Rahim said. Arena replied, Let them. We just need to hold on. That night, they sat near the heat lamp, tired but alert. I've never fought like this before, Rahim said. You did well, Arena smiled. You fight with heart. He laughed softly. And you fight with skill. They leaned back, looking at the scanner. A soft green light blinked. Rahim frowned. That's new. He clicked it. A message appeared. Princess Arena. Message received. Help is coming. Stay alive. Arena stared at the screen, her eyes filled with something close to joy. They heard me. The rebels are coming. Rahim nodded. Then we just need one more night. She looked at him. We can do this. Together. End of part 5. The moon was quiet, but the air inside the small outpost was full of tension. Rahim and Arena sat near the scanner, watching the green light blink slowly. Help was coming, but it hadn't arrived yet. Outside, Virel soldiers were still searching. Some traps had already been triggered. Others still waited. The ground near the shelter was now marked with footsteps, burn marks, and signs of struggle. Rahim checked the energy levels. Power is running low. We might lose the outer sensors soon. Arena stood up and looked out the narrow window. They will come again, maybe tonight. Rahim looked at her. Are you ready? Arena nodded. I was born in a palace, but I belong in the fight. As night fell, the stars returned to their silent watch above. The 2 moons of the nearby planet shone faintly, casting long shadows across the rocks. Then came the first sound. Clang. A soft metal sound echoed from the back wall, then another. Someone was trying to break in silently, Rahim whispered. They're avoiding the traps this time. Arena held her metal rod tightly. They're learning. But so are we. She nodded to Rahim. He tapped a button near the table. One of the drones moved out, this time without sound. It floated over the rocks, its camera scanning the area. On the screen they saw for Virel soldiers. It's too near the back wall, to moving slowly from the side. They're surrounding us, Rahim said. They want to catch us without a fight. Arena's eyes narrowed. We won't let them. The first group reached the back door and placed. It's a small device to break the lock. Beep, beep, click. The door opened slowly, but Arena was waiting as the first soldier stepped in. She struck fast. A clean hit to the helmet knocked him back. Second soldier raised his weapon. But Rahim triggered a flash bomb, FSHHH. Bright white light filled the room. The soldier screamed and dropped his gun. Irina moved in, fast and silent. Another strike. The second soldier fell. Rahim locked the door again. 2 down. But more are coming. Outside, the other 2 soldiers heard the noise and rushed forward. But this time, Rahim was ready. He threw a small device out the side window. It rolled across the ground and stopped between the rocks. As the soldiers approached, it activated PSSSHHH. A strong cloud of blue smoke rose up, covering the whole path. Inside the smoke, they could hear strange sounds, laughing, running. Footsteps recordings from earlier days. The soldiers got confused. One shouted, "How many are inside?" The other replied, "I don't know. I hear more than 2.
Oh.
They argued. Irina snuck behind them through the emergency tunnel they had dug 3 days ago. She moved like a shadow. She tapped Rahim's cum. Now he opened the back door again. The noise drew the soldiers' attention. In that moment of distraction, Irina jumped from behind and disarmed one soldier. He turned, but she was faster. She struck his arm and grabbed the small scanner from his hand. The last soldier ran, shouting into his wrist device. "He's calling for backup," Rahim said. Irina chased after him. She threw the metal rod and it hit the soldier's back, fell, but pressed one last button. Red light flashed on the horizon. Rahim's eyes widened. "I've sent a signal." Irina returned, breathing. "Hard? More will come?" He nodded. "Then we don't wait. We move to the high ground." They gathered supplies, water packs, energy cells, and the damaged communicator. The high ground was a rocky cliff near the edge of the moon's surface. From there, they could see everything and send signals clearly. It took them half an hour to reach the top. The sky was beginning to change, stars fading as the nearby sun rose again. "We'll make our last stand here," Rahim said. Irina stood beside him. "We won't stand alone." Just then, a new light appeared in the sky. It wasn't Varel. It wasn't human. It was rebel craft silver and orange, shaped like wings, flying fast and low. "They came," Irina whispered. The ship flew in a wide circle, scanning the area. A voice came through the communicator. "Princess Irina, we have received your signal. Prepare for support." Rahim smiled.
Oh, just in time.
But before the rebels could land, a second signal filled the sky. 3 Varel warships entered the moon's orbit. "They sent full guards," Irina said. "They don't want me alive." Rahim held his breath. "Will your rebels fight? They have no choice now." The rebel ship opened its side doors, dropping small drones and fast skimmers. Fighters in light armor jumped down, landing near the outpost and firing at the Virel soldiers who remained. The battle had begun. From the high cliff, Irina and Rahim watched as fire and smoke filled the air below. Rebels moved smartly using speed and teamwork. Virel soldiers fought with heavy weapons, but they were too slow for the rebel tactics. One Virel warship aimed at the rebels' main ship. Irina's eyes widened. "If they destroy that ship, it's over." Rahim pointed to the cliff's edge. "We can reach their power relay from here. Cut their aim." Irina didn't hesitate. They moved together, climbing across the rocks, dodging blasts and wind. They reached the control point and found the small power hub that guided the warship's aim. Rahim connected a wire from his toolkit and typed fast into his pad. 30 seconds, he said. Irina stood guard, protecting him with a stolen Varel shield. 20 seconds later, the warship's cannon powered down. Rahim grinned. "We did it." Down below, the rebel ship took the chance and fired back. A clean, bright shot hit the Virel warship. Boom. It cracked, then fell from the sky, burning as it crashed into the rocky field. Cheers came from the rebel side. The rest of the Virel forces began to retreat. Their leaders knew the battle was lost. Irina dropped to one knee, breathing hard. Rahim sat beside her. "It's over," he said. She nodded, for now. Later that day, the rebel commander met them at the outpost. "You Saved many lives today, princess, he said. Irina replied, Don't call me princess. Not anymore. I fight for peace, not power. The commander smiled. Then let us stand with you. Rahim stood beside her. The commander looked at him. And this human? Irina replied, without pause. He is the reason I'm alive. He's the reason I still believe in hope? Rahim smiled, looking at her. And for the first time, Irina felt truly free. End of part 6. The sun was rising again on the broken surface of the moon. Smoke still floated in the cold air. Fires had gone out, but the smell of burnt metal remained. Irina stood at the edge of the cliff, looking over the battlefield. Her long coat moved. With the light wind, her eyes didn't shine with royal pride anymore. They were calm, serious like a soldier who had seen too much, but kept going. Beside her stood Rahim, holding a small toolkit and looking at the damaged rebel ship. We'll need 3 more hours to fix the power link, he said. Rena gave a short nod. The important thing is we won. They walked together through the quiet camp. Rebels were helping the injured, collecting supplies and setting up new defense points. Some looked tired, others smiled, but all were proud. People greeted Irina with respect. But no one called her princess anymore now, they called her Commander. A young rebel girl ran up to her, holding a datapad. We've received a message from Sector 9. More rebel groups want to join us. They heard what happened here. Irina took the pad and read quickly. Her face stayed calm, but inside her heart was full. They believed in her now, not because of her bloodline, because of her actions. Later, Irina and Rahim sat near the old outpost building, sharing a quiet meal of dried fruit and warm packs. Rahim looked at her and said, You're not the same person I found in the desert. Irina gave a small smile. And you're not just a mechanic anymore? They both laughed softly. Then she asked, What will you do now? Rahim thought for a moment. Go back to Earth. Maybe, but I've seen too much to return to a normal life. Irina looked at him closely. We need people like you. We're building something new, a free alliance. No kings, no empires, just people helping each other. Rahim smiled. Then I'll stay. Someone has to teach these rebels how to fix things without blowing them up. That night, a large gathering was held near the rebel camp. There was no grand stage or shining lights, just a circle of fighters, workers, and survivors sitting. Around small fires, Irina stood in the center. She raised her voice. You all know who I was, a princess of a fallen house, born in comfort, trained to command. But I saw the truth behind the palace walls. I saw people being used, controlled, and forgotten. She looked around at the faces in the circle. I tried to speak. I tried to change things, but they beat me, left me. I thought I would die in silence. Her voice grew stronger. But I didn't, because someone showed me kindness. A human Rahim who had no reason to help me. But he did. She looked at Rahim and smiled. Now I stand here not as a princess, but as one of you. A fighter, a builder, a leader who listens. People clapped. Some cheered. Others nodded with tears in their eyes. The oldest rebel stood and raised a hand. Then let it be known. From this day, Irina is no longer a lost princess. She is our commander. Everyone stood and shouted together, For Irina! For freedom! In the days that followed, things moved quickly. The message of the battle spread across nearby systems. Small rebel groups came forward, asking to join the cause. They brought ships, food, medicine, and engineers. Rahim became one of the main builders. He trained a team of young rebels to fix old machines and power tools. He also helped design a new base, a hidden station inside a hollow asteroid, safe from the VRL scanners. Irina, now Commander Irina, worked day and night to unite the rebels. She made councils instead of giving orders. She listened before speaking, and slowly, hope began to grow. But the VRL Empire was not quiet. Their leaders were angry and afraid. They had lost a princess, a battle, and a part of their control. Now, they prepared a full strike mission to crush the rebels once and for all. One evening, as Raheem was checking the new shield system, Irina came to him with a serious look. "There. Coming," she said. Raheem straightened. "When?" "Within a week. Your scouts have already reached nearby sectors." Raheem nodded. "Then we fight again." But Irina touched his arm. "No, this time we don't just fight. We end it." The plan was bold and risky. They would send a secret team into the heart of Varel Command, not to attack, but to spread the truth. Videos, recordings, messages from soldiers who had turned, words from people who had suffered. The goal wasn't destruction, it was awakening. Raheem helped design the signal system. Irina led the message. Rebels from different worlds shared their stories. Then, on the 7th night, they activated the beacon. Across the stars, screens turned on. Voices filled the airwaves. People saw Irina's face, heard her story, watched the truth. Some wept, others screamed. Many began to question everything. Inside the Empire, cracks began to form. Weeks passed, the Empire grew weaker, not from war but from within. Soldiers refused orders, citizens protested. And on one cold morning, the Varel High Council surrendered. Without a single shot, Irina and her team arrived at the capital not with weapons, but with peace. The people welcomed them. A new flag was raised. Not of one house, one planet, or one race, but of many stars. Joined in unity, the age of empires had ended. On a quiet day, Irina and Raheem sat on a hill outside the city. Trees had begun to grow again. Children played in the fields. Raheem asked, "Do you miss the palace?" Irina smiled. "No, I found something better." He raised an eyebrow. "A rebel base?" She laughed. "A purpose, a friend, a new start." Raheem looked at her. "So what now, Commander?" She looked up at the sky. "Now we build a future." Together, they watched the stars, knowing that the story of a wounded princess and a simple human had changed the galaxy forever. The end.